To be perfectly honest, what I actually wanted to ask was, and this comes from being potentially a bit of an ignorant voter, what exactly does an independent do? What is their role in Parliament and how does it work in a nutshell? Because I like the idea of an independent candidate, but I don't want to be counterproductive if a particular party is going to be in government. I don't want to go against that. I want to sort of help the nation progress. So how do independents work?
Sure. Well, there are, this election, 102 independent candidates. And if you could line them all up and ask them that question, you'd probably get about 102 different answers. And in a way, that's right, as it should be, because by their very nature, they are different. They're not all to be stuck in the same, tarred with the same brush, so to speak. In fact, I had one voter ask me the other day, she said, "Oh, I didn't know the Independent Party had a candidate in Ryan this year." And I think that does say something about people's knowledge in a way. The role of an independent, as I see it, is to be constructive, to support, as the candidate sees it, or the MP sees it, the best ideas that are in the Parliament. And the main thing that is different from a member of a party is that every single vote in the Parliament can then be a conscience vote. There isn't the party discipline that forces an individual, quite often, to go against what they not only have as their own thoughts and feelings about an issue, but what they know to be in the hearts and minds of their constituents. The late Peter Andren, who died just yesterday morning, was an independent for the seat of Calare in New South Wales. He said that on many occasions he'd be going to a vote in the Parliament and one of the members of the parties would turn to him and say, "What are we voting on?" And what that reflects is the fact that they often didn't even need to know what they're voting on because it's predetermined essentially by the party. An independent has a harder job because they have to inform themselves across the range of issues. Nevertheless, I think, from my perspective, the most valuable thing that they offer is a more direct form of representation, without the filter of the party. It's harder work, but I think it's a very important voice that we need to have. Currently there are 3 independents in the Parliament. I'd love there to be several more. I don't know if that goes some way to answering that question.
No, that helps a lot.
Any other final questions or comments?
What are your basic views on the basic things of healthcare and education and those main issues that are out there at the moment?
Well, I make no secret of the fact that the top 3 for me, and not necessarily in this order, are health, education and environment. Because I see these as being absolutely central to our future economic and our future social well-being as a nation. Yes, they're not just peripheral issues. Somebody said it in a letter to the Australian newspaper very well last week. The economy must adapt to the environment because it is plain that the environment cannot adapt to the economy. And I think that the set of issues we face on whether it's on climate change, on water supplies and so forth, are just so fundamental that we can't have a decent economy unless we tackle those seriously.
Yeah.
Education is clearly central because we will never really prosper as a nation or continue to prosper as a nation unless we develop a series of alternative industries in areas that we can't pick, as a government can't pick. You never know quite where the next bright ideas are going to come from. So I think the wisdom in supporting education at all levels, but most particularly I'm very keen on the level of higher education and developing careers for young people in research and across the board, is that you never know quite where the next industry will come from. And I think that must be supported, even in a selfish sense. It should be supported by people who are not working in higher education because it is our future. And in health, because I've worked in health in one way or another, in research or in teaching for most of my career, it just seems to me that we could do a great deal better in health. And the most fundamental thing from my perspective is not who runs the hospitals. It's not the administration of health so much. It's getting extremely serious about preventive health. Because the major difficulty as I see it is that our hospitals are clogged to bursting point with a very significant number of people with preventable chronic disease. And although that's a difficult thing to tackle, if we don't try to tackle that seriously, no amount of tinkering with the administration and the organisation of healthcare is fundamentally going to make a difference. So those are the big 3 for me, but obviously an MP has the opportunity and the responsibility to take a position across the whole range of issues.